Hey, my scribes. Today I want to talk to you about one of the best, worst films of all time. You know when you see a bad film and think, I can do way better than that, but you can barely get out one more draft? Enter the movie that you get when you've only done one draft. The Room. I want to take a moment to shout out my pin. It's Paperman Meg, and she's doing her thing writing. Isn't that kind of cool? Let this be a warning to you zero draft submitters. I see you. Remember that if you like these videos, click here and here to make sure you see more. If you don't know the name Tommy Wiseau, you probably know the name of the movie chronicling him, The Disaster Artist. The Disaster Artist chronicled the production and release of failed feature-length movie The Room. The Room was written, produced, directed, starred in by amateur actor and movie writer Tommy Wiseau. We know from watching it that there were really big problems. Characters weren't fleshed out, there was no arcs, and pretty much everybody revolved around Wiseau's main protagonist, him, Johnny. Any subplots such as his soon-to-be in-laws cancer plot and the drug plot for the young boy Denny who regularly pops up into Johnny and Lisa's home, especially in the first scene of their mostly intimate moment. The plot started and ended just as they were mentioned. I mean, resolving nothing. Never mentioned again. We also know that the dialogue was pretty nonsensical. It was in no way natural to say. Sometimes the characters even kind of went on tangents. I'm not even sure if you noticed some characters slightly laughed. I mean, as a matter of fact, I think Wiseau's dialogue took on a very melodramatic tone, and he even needed cue cards for his own dialogue, since he cast himself as the main character, of course. Here's my takeaway. Write your outline so that you hit every structural mark in your plot and story effectively. Come on, people. That's kind of the first thing you want to do. It's like if you have a map, you can see where you want to go and you can see where each story goes to feed off the main character's own and make it make sense. They should be all arcing into basically the same themes, meaning if one person is struggling with guilt, they should all struggle with guilt. Dialogue is very important and probably the toughest part to write in any movie, really. So some tricks are, well, I mean, if it's hard to say for you, it's hard to say for an actor. So read your stuff out loud. I like to read my dialogue out loud all the time, even if I just mutter it to myself, to be aware of how most people talk. And you really got to make sure it sounds natural for the person in their background historically for them to speak. You don't want someone who's a pirate speaking like a total American. Okay, bad example, but I try to be aware of how most people talk from all backgrounds. It just makes writing dialogue smoother and way more realistic. Cut out any stereotypical or bland speaking patterns. You don't want that. It just shows that you're pretty new at this. Let's talk about the production. A huge problem with the movie is that each actor was completely uncertain about their character's motivations, their identity, their background. I mean, I'm pretty sure poor Denny didn't know Wiseau intended to make him a special needs character. Make sure as the writer, casting manager, and director, you're really able to prepare your actors with this information. It really only serves to elevate your story. Plain and simple. The producers on this film was Wiseau, of course, who had entirely too much money to throw at this project, not enough guidance, and was there with some pretty new people as well. If there's someone funding your project, they do get a say in many different things, but build out a contract and what they're allowed to have a say in. I mean, Wiseau bought dual camera packages because, I don't know, and a green screen, and he kept pushing back time, so filming sessions were running long. He was burning money. This will burn out your crew too and lead to overspending on your production. Directors are my favorite part because not many understand their function. Yes, they're bosses of all boss on production, but also pre-production and post. So choose someone who understands your vision seriously for the script, because the goal of the film needs to be something that everybody who's working on it agrees upon. That way, when it's being filmed, they're really doing their best to create that vision for you. And as the writer, you really won't have a whole lot of say after all this is said and done. So once you pick them, that's pretty much it. It's why so many actors take their shot at directing down the line, because they understand the vision. And Tommy Wiseau is not a terrible writer. He was just still a novice. And then, unfortunately, his drama turned most famously into mostly comedy. He ran before he could walk. But I will tell you one thing. It's probably the best, worst film you'll ever see. You'll probably learn a lot. So with that in mind, just remember to make sure that when you are creating a script that you're going to do with your friends, your family, whoever's on board with it, that you're really, really, really getting in a lot of that feedback. You're showing it to as many people. You're making sure that all the characters make sense. They fit a specific arc. The story structure is pretty tight and on point. And that when your characters read it, have a table read if you must, when someone is reading it, they understand what the character is supposed to do and why they're facing certain challenges. This is very important because if you haven't fleshed out your character, it will not translate on screen. And the actor cannot do their job if they can't figure out what it is you're trying to say with these characters and getting it right. Once you get it right, you should have everyone who reads it understand point A to point B what the story is about. Please make sure you also get a team who really can collaborate with you on those things and is going to listen to you. Because I think the biggest thing that we know from this film that they did, The Room, was that they weren't all on the same page. They were not listening to each other as far as the behind-the-scenes crew, the production crew, and especially Tommy Wiseau himself was not a very good collaborator, and he threw just so much money at it, very stubbornly thinking he knew what he was doing, and he didn't want to take any advice from anybody around him. If you don't take any advice from anyone around you, you don't tend to learn. We're always learning in this field. So, if you guys have seen the movie, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of it. If you have actually read the script, I'd love to know what that sounded like or looked like, or someone just send it to me. And if you've seen any other of his videos, his films, just let me know what you thought about those, because I haven't explored any of those, but I know he is still doing work out there, which is awesome for him. And despite this world's worst film that it's been made out to, it's actually a pretty fun watch. So go watch it if you haven't watched it. And I will see you on the next one, Scribes.